This is Canadian Cult Cinema. Since I started this show, I've gotten to talk about some great Canadian horror films, crazy sex comedies, and even a post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie. But there's been one subgenre that I love that I haven't had a chance to talk about: Kung Fu films. Does Canada even make Kung Fu films? Well, it turns out the answer is yes, and one company in particular was responsible for a bunch of them in the 90s. Film One Media was established in 1988 by Jalal Merhi. They produced many action films in the 90s and 2000s starring such martial arts legends as Bolo Yeung, Billy Blanks, and Cynthia Rothrock. The company's founder, Merhi, is also an accomplished martial artist himself, having trained in Taekwondo, Choi Lei Fat, Hungar, and Shotokan karate. Now, we'll talk about Merhi a little later, but let's take a look at Film One's second movie,
Tiger Claws.
Tiger Claws is a 1992 action film starring Bolo Yeung, Jalal Merhi, and the awesome Cynthia Rothrock. The film begins with a would-be rapist following a woman into an alley. Unfortunately for this scumbag, the woman he is stalking is Detective Linda Masterson, played by Cynthia Rothrock. The creep pulls out a knife and Masterson takes him with a series of spinning kicks. Masterson is sick of working cases where she's just the bait for some creep. We're then introduced to our second protagonist, Tarek Richards, played by Mahuri. Richards is a lone wolf narcotics officer, but he's about to make a big bust when two other cops show up trying to claim the bust for themselves, and a gunfight breaks out. Richards single-handedly takes out the bad guys with some sweet face kicks and a car explosion. We then cut to Bill Pickle's karate show. Bill is an asshole.
Oh, by the way, get the stupid plants off the stage. I told you I don't want anything in here taller than I am.
But he's also a 5th Dan black belt. An unknown assailant sneaks into his dressing room and quickly kills Bill, unfortunately off screen, leaving claw marks on his face. The police are investigating what is now seeming to be a serial killer. This killer is targeting martial arts masters. The bodies keep piling up with all similar injury, a tiger claw mark on their body. Who could be powerful enough and skilled enough to take out these accomplished fighters?
Such precision, and to be able to inflict this amount of damage. It leads me to believe that this killer is a highly trained martial artist.
Detective Linda Masterson has a theory that the killer, now being called the Death Dealer, is himself a martial artist. She asks her captain to put her on the case, and he reluctantly agrees, but insists she team up with the now suspended Tarek Richards. Richards is also a martial arts expert and quickly discovers the style of the killer.
An old Chinese style. One of the first. Some people call it tiger claw.
Come off it, Eric. How do you know it's tiger?
I've studied it.
The duo then head to Chinatown to find a school that teaches tiger style. And, well, they get into a fight. The guy they save tells them of this master that he knows that teaches Tiger Claw, so they head to a tournament to meet up with this master. Now, this tournament, which takes place in New York, has a lot of Canadian flags. At this tournament, we get our first look at Chong, played by Bolo Yeung. Richards and Masterson find a secret martial arts school. We, the audience, then find out that Chong is the Death Dealer because, well, of course he is. Bolo Yeung is like the perfect bad guy. Richards gets accepted into the secret martial arts school teaching Tiger Claw, with hopes of finding the killer. Now, this leads to one of my favorite scenes in the film. The audience knows that Chong is the killer, but our detectives don't. And when Richards is fighting in the dojo, we see Chong smiling sheepishly and painting the wall. Our hero and killer even end up drinking together in a strip club, and, well, of course, they get into a bar fight. Our killer even stops Tarek from killing someone himself. Meanwhile, Masterson goes to a bar to track down a suspect, and we're treated to a great Cynthia Rothrock fight scene. There's a kick-ass metal song playing in the background. The track is actually called Break the Walls Down by a local Toronto band called Attitude. You can find their music video on YouTube. Chong kills his Sifu and the rest of his students in the school for no real reason, but, watching Bolo Yeung fight is reason enough. Richards and Masterson then put their detective minds together and find out that Chong is the Death Dealer.
Chong.
They go to confront him, and then we get first of two fights with Chong. Masterson and Chong fight. Chong seems to be getting the better of Masterson, and then Richards comes to the rescue. We then get Chong versus Richards, and Richards is handcuffed. So Chong ties his hands together because, I guess, fair fights are cool. He then decides winning is cooler and unties his hands. Richards breaks his handcuffs on Chong's neck. Now, after seeing Bolo Yeung's neck, this seems plausible. Richards finally defeats Chong and refrains from killing him because, well, he's a good guy. Tiger Claws is definitely not a perfect film, but it's a lot of fun. The story is pretty standard action flick fare, and the acting is not great, but the fight scenes are awesome, and that's exactly what we want out of a kung fu movie. It was set in New York, but shot in Toronto, and the accents are a dead giveaway.
Is there anything else you didn't tell them? Or geez, do I have to wait until the follow-up at 11?
The director, Kelly Macon, would go on to do a lot of TV work, working on Kids in the Hall. He also directed their film, Brain Candy. Bolo Yeung is an incredible villain. I have a hard time watching movies where he's not playing the bad guy. His career speaks for itself, from Enter the Dragon to Bloodsport. He's just a commanding presence on screen. Cynthia Rothrock is an accomplished martial artist, and she should be much bigger of an action star than she is. She's appeared in many films, but for some reason she isn't as well known as she should be. She holds 7 black belts and sashes in multiple martial arts, including Tang Soo Do, Taekwondo, Eagle Claw, Northern Shaolin, and more. The film's titular hero, Tarek Richards, is played by Jalal Merhi. Now, he's also the film's producer and has a pretty interesting story himself. He was born in Brazil to Lebanese parents and then immigrated to Canada to study. Now, as I mentioned earlier, he has trained and competed in many different forms of martial arts, including Shotokan, which is, well, a personal favorite of mine. I just competed in a rather challenging 4-day summer camp, and, well, I'm still sore. Now, Murray started a successful jewelry business. And while he was competing in a martial arts tournament, he was approached by a producer for a movie role. Although that particular film never got off the ground, Jalal got to know many other people in the film business. He sold his share in the building in Toronto downtown and his jewelry business, and with some additional investments, he started the production company Film One. The production company produced many action films through the 90s and 2000s, and as far as I know, they're still in operation today. Tiger Claws has 2 sequels, Tiger Claws 2 released in 1996, and Tiger Claws 3, The Final Conflict, released in 2000. All the Tiger Claws films are pretty hard to track down on DVD, but Film 1 has its own YouTube channel and you can watch all 3 on there right now. But I really love to get my hands on a physical copy. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like and share button, and if you want to see more Canadian cult cinema, please subscribe.